Hello and welcome back to the Tuesday Checklist, the weekly show where we use a recent or upcoming PS4 release as a springboard for a tenuously linked conversation about pretty much whatever we fancy. Rage 2 is out on PS4 right now, a characterful open world adventure with lots of cars, guns and pink. Also, the word rage is in the title, which instantly got us thinking about all the times we've rage quit games. Specifically the instances we're really not proud of. Rosie's up first, which will be interesting because I can't really imagine Rosie getting enraged about anything.
Now, I'm not someone who usually rage quits in a game. Like, I can get really enraged in a game, but I'm someone who I'll just keep on pushing myself until someone else makes me stop. So I'm not a quitter. Other people make me quit.
That's amazing.
But there was one instance where I was playing this game, I got really stuck on the final boss, but that is the final boss battle with Spectre from Ape Escape 2. So, pretty much Rob's just collapsed. I don't know why I struggled with this boss. I do not know why I struggled with this boss. I played the whole game really nicely, like it's a fun little game. I love Ape Escape, it's awesome, and Ape Escape 2's on the PS4, and I was like, yeah, I'll replay it, it's gonna be great. And then I got to the final boss with Spectre, and I died again, and again, and again, and again, and I just couldn't get that bloomin' monkey. And he's one of those villains as well. Like, you know when you're in a boss battle and they have the same dialogue, and after a while you learn the dialogue. Yeah. Like, all Spectre does is whenever he gets knocked off of his, technological hovering floating chair, he just goes like, damn! And he starts stamping his feet. And I just got so fed up of him. I literally remember in my room when I was playing it, I was just repeating what he was saying after he said it whilst I was doing it. So the whole time I was playing, I was just shouting, trying to get him. It was a nightmare, and this was a situation. So I did actually rage quit on that one, but I didn't want to.
Tell me it's your mum who came in, didn't it?
Yeah, sure. Rosie, I'll do it. It wasn't me, it was my boyfriend who did it, because this was at a point where I just moved out, and I was just happily sat on the bed, and I got really angry, and he was just like, for God's sake, Rosie, I can't be in this room with you like this right now, give me the controller. And I was like, no, you are not taking the controller. And then we had a little bit of a debate about who's gonna have the
Very reasonable chat. And my rebuttal.
I object, I have the controller.
He made some good points.
He made some good points that I just couldn't beat the boss. And then eventually he was like, fine, okay, you do it then, you keep on doing it. And then that was the only time where I think I just remember throwing the controller on the bed. I was just like, I am fed up with this monkey. Why can't I do this boss? This is Ape Escape 2. It's just, I can't catch this blooming monkey. And then he just sort of picked it up and he was like, why is it so hard? And to be fair, he did struggle with it a bit. But then I didn't expect him to actually finish it. I was still going to be the one to finish it, but I think I went off to the bathroom or something, just cool down a bit, just to refresh and be like, whew. And then when I came back, it was the ending cutscene, and he was just like, I did it.
Have you gone back and done it yourself?
Yes, well, I'm working on it at the moment, because when you beat Ape Escape 2, you can replay it as Spike, who's the main character from Ape Escape 1. So I'm just playing it through as him again. And I do intend this time to go into Spectre, and I'm gonna get that monkey myself. So if you see me raging in the office a little bit because I'm just hearing Spectre be like, no good, and stuff like that, then that's probably gonna be the reason why, because none of the other Ape Escape games, absolutely fine. Just the boss battle on Ape Escape 2 just made me throw my controller on the bed. I was so mad at it.
So, rage quitting. I have lots of stories I could tell, but the one that springs to mind most vividly is when I was playing through Killzone 2 on PS3. It was quite a hard game, Killzone 2, and I was surprised at myself because usually when I come up against something that's difficult, I tend to give up quite easily. I'm not someone who perseveres. I'm not someone who tries and tries again until finally beaten a thing. Like if I come up against a brick wall of difficulty, I'm just like, oh well, I'll stop playing that game then. But I didn't with Killzone 2. I really enjoyed it. It was a beautiful game. And this is quite a notoriously difficult bit anyway. It's when you fight Colonel Radek right at the end of Killzone 2. And it's the bit just before Radek comes out. There's a big fight against a bunch of Hellglass troops, and they've got all like the end game weapons. Like one of them's got a rocket launcher. They've got really good guns, and it is difficult. It's so tough, that fight to do. And I think to this day it remains the only instance in any game ever, I think, where I've just sort of come to terms with the fact that I just didn't have the skill to do it. Like, I just couldn't do it. And I went through a kaleidoscope of rages, to the extent that I didn't, I hadn't experienced the kind of rage I experienced with that. Usually it's like, oh my God, this is hard, rage quit, done. But because I was really, really trying, I was really determined to see this through. There was like the beginning bit where it was hard. I was like, oh my God, this is really hard. And then it got to the bit where I got a little bit better. And that's when the rage starts to happen, when you feel like you're getting through it and something happens. Maybe it's a bit that you did in your previous attempt, and this time you've mucked it up, and it's just so frustrating, and the rage was happening. And then sort of after about attempt number 30, sort of the rage became cold. It was like a cold rage. So I was sort of just like playing the game. Well, I've died again. Of course I died again. I've died again. Of course I died again. And it was just like, just
I know exactly what you mean.
It was like white hot rage, but inside nothing was coming out. It was like a silent fury. And it got to a point, it turns out there is a point beyond that as well. And just very silently and very calmly, but very deliberately, I just got up, walked to the PS3, ejected the disc, and just snapped the disc in half.
Whoa.
In my hand. Just like
Full
with a very
snap.
There was no like shouting, there was no nothing, it was very just like that. In the bin. And I sort of just sat on my sofa, just like, wow, I beat you in the end, didn't I, Colonel Radek?
I don't think
I
we can
snapped
talk
your
about.
code. I snapped the information that you existed on. The physical media where you were alive is now destroyed. Your whole world is destroyed, and I crushed you with my hands. So in the end, I did win. But yeah, Killzone 2 is definitely my rage quit that I am least proud of.
Just want to start off by saying I'm telling this story against therapist's advice. It's taken me a long time to get over it. So I'm not normally a rage quit person. I definitely get super ragey, but I'm not going to let a game defeat me. This is the problem.
Yeah,
so I'll
like
just
it.
keep going. Like, I can't rage quit. It's just not who I am. But I think the only game that's ever made me literally fling a controller into the ceiling was GTA San Andreas on the mission supply lines. This was one of several like following missions, and it actually started off really funny because it's David Cross doing the voice of Zero. And so he's really funny, it's really enjoyable. The mission starts off because you found him in a cupboard and he's been wedgied and like hung by his pants like in a wardrobe. And so like you go into the shop and you're like, hey Zero, where are you? And he's just like, don't worry about it. Just come back tomorrow. And so eventually you like open his cupboard and he's just like hanging there like that. And so he basically wants to get revenge on the guy who wedgied him like that. And it eventually ends up in you flying a remote controlled plane around. And it's just the most ridiculously difficult thing I've ever done. And the worst thing is, you don't even have to do it. It's just because I really wanted to 100% the game. And so I was like, okay, I'm gonna do all the optional side missions. And for some reason, that made it worse. Because when something, you have to complete it to progress, I feel like I don't get as mad because I'm like, well, I have to. It's that or I have to stop playing, so that's the choice. But when I didn't have to do it and I was just, every time I finished, every time I failed, I'd just be like, why am I doing this to myself? Like, this is my own choice. And so I'm not good at flying in games at the best of times. Like, I really struggle with it. And so this, you just flew all over. Like, I would just be going straight and then for some reason I'd just be flying towards the ground. And I'd be like, I don't know why this is happening. I can't stop. And
That's falling out. That's not flying.
Where were you in 2004, Dave? So it was ridiculous. Like, I just failed over and over again. And the other issue was that there were so many ways to fail. So you had to chase down, like, I can't remember, 4 or 5 different careers to like destroy someone else's business. And they were all like either in a van or on a bike or on a motorbike. So they were really hard to chase. They could also shoot back at this plane and destroy it. You could crash it and destroy it. And then you could also run out of fuel, which was just infuriating. Because if you were me and you were doing like just like flying like this, like doing barrel rolls for fun. About a second in, it was like, well, you're now out of fuel. And I'd just be like, cool, great. Right? And then the worst thing was, so I didn't even manage to kill all the couriers for such a long time. Like tried and tried and tried and tried. And there was in particular like this guy on the motorbike that was just impossible to chase down, like absolute nightmare. And then the first time after like a million attempts, they actually killed all the couriers. I was like, I did. And then it was like, now fly back to Zero shop. And then I was like, chunk, chunk, and it was like, you're out of fuel. I was like, that's it. And I remember just like kind of, similar to Rob's story, cold fury, just like throwing the controller up and it just hitting the ceiling and then bouncing around and almost hitting me, which would have been instant karma. And I just had to get up and walk away. And I did eventually do it, but not for a really long time because it was just, I found it so traumatic. And even like hearing David Cross's voice now when I hear it, because I just hear him be like, launch the Red Baron over and over again. And it was just absolutely horrific. And it was easily my worst ever rage quit because I dented a ceiling with a controller, very nearly my own head.
I'm not much of a rage quitter. Kind of like, I think, well, not like everyone said, but like Rosie and Elle said, I don't tend to quit. And my rage, I do rage, but often it's quiet rage. I get very disappointed with myself, and
it's a sad rage.
And the thing is, funnily enough, you guys have all spoken about single player experiences, whereas I instantly thought, I guess because I've done a lot of one-on-onesie, which just tend to make me the angriest, I instantly thought about multiplayer games. And the worst, this is the most ragey I think I've ever been on the channel, was Bishi Bashi Special. It's a series of party games which are insane and Japanese. Like, one is like build a burger, or Uncle Bean. There's Uncle Bean, where an uncle, I guess, is at the bottom of the screen, like eating beans. You have to feed him beans, I think. Uncle Launcher
is launching uncles onto plates.
Right.
If I remember right. Maybe I just made that one up.
Bishi Bashi Special. How could this make me mad? I'll tell you how. Well, mostly, I don't know there's several ways. Worst of all is playing with Nathan. I hate Nathan. And with this particular day, when we first started doing one-on-onesie, we made the mistake of challenging each other. So I would pick the game one week and I'd pick a game I was good at, and then I'd beat Nathan, and then he would pick his game the next week and he'd pick a game he was good at and he'd beat me. What's the point in that? That's just stupid. And he picked Bishi Bashi Special. And this particular morning when we came to play it for one-on-onesie, we'd had an argument. I remember being very angry with him, and that being the time then we were now like, now let's film one-on-onesie. And Nathan had picked Bishi Bashi Special. It's one of those games, I think there's probably 3 or 4 that he just lost days of university to. Him and his friends, they just learned all the games in Bishi. Like, there's, I don't know how many, like 100 mini games in there, and each time he'd be like, oh, it's this one, oh, it's this one, like knew exactly what to do. Me, a Bishi Bashi newcomer, was just like, what the hell? And if you see the instruction screen on a Bishi Bashi game,
They're
it's
really
like
quick, aren't they?
it's like a disco. It's like you're already laughing at like Uncle Lord. I'm like, Uncle Lord, who's Uncle? Just press these buttons. Here we go. And you're like, what? What? And meanwhile, he's like, come on, Dave. I've done it. And I'm like, what's happening? I don't know. And it shows the DualShock, and it just shows pretty much every button flashing. I was going, just drive the rat around the square. And it's just like, all the buttons are flashing. And I'm like, with which button? All of those buttons? Do I have to press all the buttons? And it's just like any button basically works. It's absolutely insane. It's just, I just stopped playing. As I said, it's my tactic. I just couldn't handle it anymore. But I didn't rage quit. I just raged. I would say that if I'm still there holding the controller, even if I'm not pressing any buttons, I haven't quit. So I like to think I have a sort of moral high ground over Nathan. But that is I mean, if we talk rage, that is my peak. I can't think of any time I've been more furious. To not only be beaten by Nathan, a man, who is so infuriating, and then to have to wear the onesie, by the way. Can we just remember, the onesie is horrible. It smells a bit, it's very hot, everybody's worn it, we've never washed it. It's terrible. I had a very bad day. So that's it. I didn't rage quit, I raged not played anymore.
Did you get any questions about the dented ceiling?
Yeah, I was gonna say, did your
Did
mum
you
walk
try?
in?
Because whenever I've like dented furniture, you get like, you know, what should I do? Should I admit that's what I've done, or did you try and make up a story as to why the ceiling had a dent in it?
Well, luckily, no one noticed. So the thing is, because obviously I've got loads of brothers and sisters, so there's like
Right.
always noise from somewhere in the house. So my mum shouted and was like, "What was that?" And I was like, "Yeah, what was that? What was that?"
Great move.
Yeah. So this is the benefit of having loads of siblings. I was like, "Yeah, I think."
I heard that.
Yeah, really weird. So yeah, no one ever discovered until now. Sorry, Mum, that was me.
It's incredibly impressive that Elle was able to calmly pull off this expert blame evasion while in a game rage state. And also a bit scary. Let us know all about your own rage quits you're really not proud of in the comments. Give the video a like if you enjoyed it, and click the notification bell to stay up to date with all our content. Thanks for watching, and see you next week for another Tuesday checklist.
For the players.